Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be going over the NBA slate on DraftKings for Friday, November the 9th. We have a 7-game slate for this Friday. I'm going to cover each position on this 7-game slate and talk about some of my favorite plays, the top studs that I like at each position, my favorite mid-tier options if there are any, and if there's any value I see, I will be sure to touch on that as well. But before we do get started, guys, I would appreciate it if you would drop a like on the video. It does really help me out, does mean a lot. If you are new to the channel, then make sure you click that subscribe button down below, so that way you won't miss out on any of my new videos. But yeah, let's go ahead and look at point guard today. So we have 4 options that are 9K and above on DraftKings. Got Ben Simmons, Kemba Walker, John Wall, and Victor Oladipo. Just talking about these 4 guys, and if I want to pay up for any of these guys, I think Kemba Walker might be my favorite here at 9,400. Kemba's just been so good this year. Just has a high usage rate with Dwight Howard no longer on this team. Kemba soaks up a lot of usage. Just has to do a lot for this Hornets team. Has to score. He'll grab some rebounds. He's going to have the ball in his hands a ton, so definitely has opportunity for assist. The only thing I don't like about this spot for Kemba is that it's on the road and it's not a great matchup. Philly does play solid defense, but Kemba's best game of the year when it comes to DraftKings points so far this year was against Philly in the same spot on the road against them. He played 35 minutes and put up 60 DraftKings points, had 37, 6, and 6. So Kemba's shown that he can do well against this Philly team. I do like him at 9,400. It feels weird maybe taking him over Ben Simmons, but Ben Simmons he hasn't shown a high ceiling so far this year. He only has 2 games with 50 DraftKings points or more. And at 9,800, for him to really be worth this price tag, you're probably going to need at least 50 from him, if not more than that. Joel Embiid's been playing really well for the Sixers. He's been doing a lot for that team. So I think if I'm paying up at point guard today, I'd probably roll with Kemba. He probably would be my favorite option, but I don't feel like any of these top 4 guys are must-plays by any means. I think the mid-tier is pretty strong today, so I really like but Donovan Mitchell. His price tag just seems way too cheap. We saw with Devin Booker on Thursday. When guys go up against Boston, they get priced down. Donovan Mitchell's only 7,100 today. Devin Booker was 7,600 on Thursday. And Devin Booker had a really good game. Would not be surprised at all if Donovan Mitchell has a really good game as well, even though it's against a tough Boston team. So I like Mitchell at 7,100. Also really like De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox seems a tad bit underpriced at 6,900. Going up against Minnesota, we already know that Jeff Teague's going to be out today, so Derrick Rose will most likely be guarding De'Aaron Fox here. This is a matchup that De'Aaron Fox should definitely be able to win. Love this spot for him at 6,900. This is a guy that has a lot of upside. He's got a triple-double once this year against the Hawks. He went for 31, 10, and 15. I'm not expecting a triple-double today from Fox, but we could definitely get 40 DraftKings points out of him. And at 6,900, that is really good value. So I like him at point guard, him and Donovan Mitchell. When it comes to price, I think both of those guys really stick out to me. Derrick Rose, like I said, is going to start again for Jeff Teague, but he got priced up to 6,800. Probably would rather play De'Aaron Fox or Donovan Mitchell over D Rose today. Then if we're going to the 5K range and maybe looking for value at point guard, so there really isn't a ton I see. Tyler Johnson would probably be my favorite value play if Goran Dragic is out today. I believe Dragic is questionable. If Dragic misses, then Tyler Johnson at 4,300 I'd probably go to, but that's really all I see at point guard for value. I think I'm just going to stick to the mid-tier at this position, play like Fox, Mitchell, maybe some D Rose, maybe like some Trae Young. Kyrie's coming off a monster game against Phoenix. It's 7,600 on the road against the Jazz on a back-to-back. If people are going to chase those Kyrie points, I'll probably be avoiding Kyrie today. But 7,600, he got priced down as well for the matchup. You could go to Kyrie. Probably would play Trae Young over him, but Kyrie's definitely an option if you want to go there. But let's move on to shooting guard. So you got Jimmy Butler up top here against the Kings. At 8,600, I feel like I'm not going to have a ton of Jimmy Butler today. It's not like he's a bad price or anything at 8,600. That's actually a pretty nice price for Jimmy Butler. For him to pay off this price to be a good tournament play, I'd say you want about 48 to 50 from Butler, and he could definitely get that in this spot. He's playing a ton of minutes. He played 43 minutes in that game against the Lakers. Barely came off the court. He was only off the court for 5 minutes during that whole game. If it's a competitive game here against the Kings, Jimmy Butler's going to play a ton of minutes. So I probably would go to him over Victor Oladipo today if I was paying up at shooting guard. But this is another position where I'll probably be looking to some of the guys I've already mentioned, like Donovan Mitchell. It's 7,100. Just his price really sticks out to me. Josh Richardson at 7,400 if Dragic is out. I do like Josh Richardson if you want to go to him if Dragic is out. Gary Harris, another guy that sticks out to me when it comes to price. 5,900 here against Brooklyn. Like this spot for Gary Harris. We know he sees a little bit of a bump when Will Barton is out. Will Barton's going to be out for a while, so Gary Harris is a guy that we can definitely look to. He's a guy that's going to give you a high floor. He just plays a ton of minutes. He's going to be on the court a ton. Pretty much can pencil Gary Harris in for at least 25 DraftKings points. And he has shown a ceiling this year. He's got some big games, 46 against the Pelicans, 40 against Golden State, 36 against Phoenix. We could easily get 6x from Gary Harris, could easily get 36 DraftKings points, especially in the matchup against Brooklyn. So I do like him a lot at shooting guard. His price just seems way too cheap. Gary Harris should not be the same price as Reggie Jackson or $100 less than more than Reggie Jackson. Just doesn't make a lot of sense. Harris definitely a better option than Jackson or just any of the other guys in that price range. So I like him a ton at shooting guard. Gordon Hayward's in a revenge game for what that's worth. But on a back-to-back, there's a chance Gordon Hayward probably doesn't even play today. That could open up value if Hayward's out. At 5K, if you want to do that, sure, but I probably will not be going to Gordon Hayward. Good chance, though, he is out, so make sure you're keeping an eye on that one. But when it comes to value at shooting guard, I mentioned Tyler Johnson. Really like him if you want to go to him for cheap. But that's probably it for the cheap shooting guard plays. Tyler Johnson's definitely my favorite play. I think Wayne Ellington started last game, and he played some nice minutes. He played 37 minutes against the Spurs, 32 DraftKings points, I believe. He started for Gordon Dragic. So if Dragic is out and Wayne Ellington starts again at 3,700, if he's going to play these big minutes, then could definitely be a value play. Dwayne Wade was out for that game, I believe, as well, and I believe Dwayne Wade's going to be out again on Friday. So we could be looking at some monster minutes for Wayne Ellington. If Dragic is out, don't mind him at 3,700 as just a punt play at this position. But let's move on to small forward. So Aaron Gordon's a guy at this position I haven't mentioned. He's 7,500 against the Wizards. Do like Aaron Gordon today. I've been playing him a lot lately just because his price tag really hasn't caught up to the production. Last two games he's been 65 and 7K, which is pretty cheap for Aaron Gordon. Today he's 7,500, which is probably a fair price. The last three games, Gordon's been playing really well, 39, 39, and 44 DraftKings points. 7,500, he's probably going to need to get you at least, I'd say, probably anywhere from 38 to 40 to be a decent play. In tournaments, you probably want about 45 from Aaron Gordon. He could definitely get that. With the price tag increase, though, I'll probably won't have a ton of exposure to Gordon. I'll probably still have a little bit, but won't be going too heavy on him. I know that that game against Cleveland when he was like 6,500, he was one of my highest exposed players that day. I don't see that being the case today, but I still will have some Aaron Gordon. 7,500, guy just has a lot of upside to return a lot of value on that price. But let's look for other small forward plays. So in this mid-range, really isn't a ton that stands out to me. Potentially if Gordon Hayward sits today, then maybe Tatum sees a boost at 6,500. Maybe Marcus Morris at 5,900, but that's kind of a wait and see. Justice Winslow, definitely like him at 5,600 if Gordon Dragic is out today. I think he's for sure in play. Taurean Prince, his price tag seems way too cheap at 5,600. He did come off the bench last game against the Knicks, still played 31 minutes, put up 25 DK points. Taurean Prince, very good price play, just a guy that's too cheap. Even if he's coming off the bench, he's still going to play pretty nice minutes. I like him at 5,600. Had a lot of interest in him at 5,900 last game. When we got the news he was going to come off the bench, I bumped down his projection a bit, but I still had him in for like 30 fantasy points. 30 fantasy points from Taurean Prince is pretty likely here, so at 5,600, you get 30 fantasy points at that price. That's definitely good value. So Prince makes a lot of sense today if you're going to this price range at small forward. Dario Saric at 5K was a guy I was on a lot last game. He was 4,800, I believe, put up 31 DraftKings points, played 36 minutes. If we're going to continue to get big minutes from Saric and he's going to continue to be this cheap, definitely going to be a guy that's on my radar. If he gets 30 DraftKings points, he's going to be a really strong play, and I could easily see Saric getting that. So I do like him as maybe a cheaper option at small forward. He is only 5K. I think he makes a lot of sense. If Bembry starts again, if Taurean Prince comes off the bench and we get Bembry starting, played 33 minutes last game, 24 DK points. He's probably going to play 30-plus minutes again if he starts again. So at 4,600, didn't see a price increase. He could be a value we go to if we're trying to go cheap at this position. And then Wayne Ellington, you got as well. But let's move on to power forward. At the top of this position, you have Blake Griffin, who is 10K today. Pretty expensive. I don't see myself going to Blake Griffin a ton. It's a good matchup against the Hawks, but the price tag is just way too high for me. Blake Griffin needs to get you close to 60 to be a good tournament play at this price tag. There's a chance he could get 60 against the Hawks, but I wouldn't bet my money on it, so probably going to be avoiding Blake Griffin. Probably going to try and find some value at power forward today. If you go into the mid-range, there are some fine plays here. Guys I've already mentioned, Winslow, if Dragic is out. Maybe Al Horford 6,200 as sort of just a point per dollar play, a cash play. He's probably going to get you 30 to 35 DraftKings points, so that would be a fine play at 6,200, but definitely not like a must play you have to have in tournaments. I think we can find value at this position. You got Dario Saric at 5K, who I mentioned. Really like Dwayne Dedmon. Dwayne Dedmon, only 4,300. I expect him to have to play minutes here. Going up against Detroit, we know Detroit has Drummond. They have Blake Griffin. They have two bigs. So the Hawks are going to have a big guy on the floor. Alex Len obviously is going to start and probably play his normal amount of minutes, but I expect Dedmon to have to play some pretty big minutes off the bench. If we can get 23 to 25 minutes out of Dedmon, he could definitely be a really good option at 4,300. He's a pretty good point per minute guy. If he's going to play 23 to 25 minutes, could easily get 25 to 30 DraftKings points. 4,300, I think Dedmon has a lot of upside on this price. I don't see myself going like crazy on Dedmon because I don't expect him to be very popular. He's going to be low owned today. So if he's going to be like 2 or 3% owned, I'll probably have like 10, 15%. Not going to go too crazy, but I do like this spot for Dedmon, and I think we're going to see him play minutes relatively in the mid-20s to where he can pay off this price. So I like him as a value option at 4,300. Omari Spellman, coming off a big game at 4,100 though. Probably going to be avoiding him. He played 28 minutes, started last game against the Knicks. 47 DraftKings points. Don't expect another performance like that from Spellman. I'm expecting him to play probably mid-20s in minutes and probably score anywhere from 15 to 20 DraftKings points. So if people are going to chase that game, I will definitely be off of Spellman. Don't have a ton of interest in him. So I think that's it for power forward. Let's move on to center. Center, a loaded position today. Got a lot of good plays. You've got Embiid up top, who is very expensive. He's 11,200. I don't see myself playing a ton of Embiid today. He's just too expensive. He needs to get you 60 to even be a relatively good play in tournaments. And I just don't know if he can get there. I don't know how likely it is that Embiid gets 60 here. There's a chance he could get 60, but I feel like we can get similar production to Embiid for cheaper, especially with a guy like Andre Drummond, 9,600 against the Hawks. I like Drummond here. But Jokic just stands out to me a ton. Love this spot for Jokic. He's at home facing Brooklyn. Great matchup. Great spot for Jokic. I expect him to dominate in this matchup. And since he hasn't been playing that well lately, he should be relatively low owned here. And he really hasn't been playing a ton of minutes either, but some of these games have been blowouts. Against Cleveland, they won by 19, it looks like. Against Utah, they won by 15. Against Boston, they lost by 8, so he's probably played his full minutes there. But some of these games lately, he's been in foul trouble as well. 5 fouls against Memphis, 4 fouls against Boston. I'm expecting a big monster bounce-back game from Jokic. Like this spot for him a ton. I think we can easily get 50 from him. This could be one of those smash spots where Jokic goes for a triple-double and is kind of a guy like you have to have. Like we saw against the Suns, 81 DraftKings points. I'm pretty sure that day I played one lineup that day and I had Jokic in it. I think it was like on a Saturday or something. He definitely helped me cash that day. 81 from Jokic. I think we see a monster game from him. Probably not going to get 80, but could definitely get 50 to 60 in this spot against Brooklyn. So I love him a ton. If I'm paying up at center, I like Drummond as well, but I think I prefer Jokic if I just have to pick one. And then if we're going to the mid-range, there are strong plays here as well. So Willie Cauley-Stein, 6,600, like him a lot here against Minnesota and against Karl Anthony Towns, who is not a very good defender. Like WCS a ton, but Dwight Howard's price tag just catches my eye so much. Dwight Howard's only 6K today in a good matchup against the Magic. Facing Nikola Vucevic, who is not a good defender. Love this spot for Dwight Howard. He's too cheap in my opinion. He hasn't had a monster game this year so far, just 28, 28, and 26 DK points. But the minutes have been there. First game back from injury, he played 23 minutes. And that game blew out, so he was probably going to play more than that. And then the last 2 games, he's played 31 and 33 minutes. So if it's going to be, if this game's going to be competitive, Howard's going to play probably 34, 35 minutes. His 6K could totally get 40 DraftKings points in this matchup against the Magic, and against Vooch, who is a bad defender. Love Dwight Howard here. I think he has a ton of upside. Just makes a lot of sense at 6K at that price tag, in my opinion. And then one more guy I want to mention as a value play. So Miles Turner's 4,800. Way too cheap of a price tag for Miles Turner. I know he's been pretty bad this year. Hasn't really been a good fantasy option, but he's still getting relatively good minutes. Going up against the Heat, going up against Whiteside, they're going to need a big on the floor to defend Whiteside. Obviously, Turner's going to get the first crack at it. Sabonis will come off the bench and will have a chance to defend Whiteside. But if Turner defends Whiteside well, then I could see him playing 30-plus minutes here and definitely being a good play at 4,800. So you could go to him for value. You could go to Alex Len because Alex Len's probably going to have to play minutes here against Detroit and against Drummond. They're going to need him on the court. But like I mentioned, I like Dedmon's price a little bit more. Dedmon's power forward eligible as well, which makes me have a lot of interest in him. I would play Len here, but there's just so many other centers I like, and the fact that I can play Dedmon at power forward makes me have more interest in him. But Len is an option. I think we see a decent game from Len today at 4,500. But yeah, that's it for center, and I think that's it for the video, guys. So hopefully you did enjoy this video, and hopefully it did help you. If you enjoyed, just make sure you click that like button. Would really appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. If you do have any questions, feel free to hit me up on Twitter at the DFS_GOAT. Or you can leave a comment down below, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. But yeah, guys, good luck tonight. Really appreciate you watching the video. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.